Okay guys, so welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that will be analyzed today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video as there is a bonus pair in store. We'll go through a quick update on my Euro USD position and then progress into the analysis shortly afterwards. If there is a particular pair you do want to see my analysis to, make sure you do skip ahead using the timestamps below if you please. But I did have a Euro USD position which I was hanging on to from the week prior. I didn't enter into any new positions this week, mainly because we had the Fed interest rate and I was looking at a lot of dollar pairs. So I kind of held back and just managed this Euro USD position. I did get trailed out for a small profit. This is where I had my trail stop loss at the time I was trailed out. So it was just below the wick, just below the swing low here on the 4-hour stroke hourly time frame. Had the Fed interest rate, big push up, big push down, just about to me at the position, unfortunately, and now price has kind of gone in my favor there. So unfortunately, have been trailed out, maybe a little bit earlier than I wanted to, but again, I was following the plan, following my management. Price was well into profit. I was happy to move stops. I wasn't too aggressive with it either. It just happened to be one of those situations where you just get wicked out, and price does move in your favor, which of course is a part of the game. There's nothing really you can do about it. You can try and mitigate it, but it's always going to happen. It's always a possibility. So unfortunately, that is kind of what happened with Euro USD, but I can't complain because we still did walk away with a small profit. But that does take us into our analysis on Euro USD, which of course is our first pair. So let me just delete this out of the way since that trade is said and done. So with Euro, I'm still bullish, still looking for a push back to the high here at 1.123, 1.125. That has been the plan with Euro over the past few days, few weeks actually. This is the high I'm looking for us to get to, and we're not too far away from that. Price right now is having a hard time, but if you're looking at some setups, I'm not a big fan of Euro because it's getting quite corrective now, quite choppy. Unless we come back down to the low here, I'm not really interested, but I still do expect us to get back to that high there. So there could be some nice break and retest off this high here, now acting as support, using that to your advantage, and then taking some longs back to the high there, maybe on an intraday level. Hourly 30-minute entries could look good here. The idea is that price is broken through this high and now expecting the trend to continue, and if you come back for a retest, that's a great place for a stop loss, great place for an entry, great place to put your stop loss underneath and see if you can catch that continuation back to the high. So with Euro, I'm still bullish. We're still forming these higher lows. As long as we keep that up, as long as we maintain that, I will remain bullish on Euro. Like I said, I'm not really interested with that opportunity. It's a bit more intraday. If I'm looking to get back involved with Euro again, I'm probably going to need to see a big swing back to the low here, so I can get a nice swing opportunities, stop loss below the low. Something like that would interest me, but this is a bit more on the lower time frame scale. So if you're looking at Euro, still do expect some upside. But yeah, the only thing I'll be looking at is that break and retest around 1.16, and taking that back to the high at 1.125 for next week. Okay, so next up we got USD JPY. So we did see some upside this week, which was expected. Price came into a massive level of support on the daily / weekly time frame. This swing low here, which gave us this massive move to the upside. So we know it's a very strong low. Price is also moving in this descending channel. We came to the lower end of the channel, started to struggle to break through. So we had that area of confluence, and the market is quite stretched, been falling for quite a while. So naturally we expected the market to retrace, and we have seen some retracement. But now we're coming to an area where some sellers will be looking to step into the market, possibly could see another lower high form at the top end of the channel and another push down. So there could be some shorts lining up pretty early for next week. You can see the two prior times price has held onto this trend line. It's done a pretty good job, 1, 2, and possibly 3. I've marked the area slightly higher around 147, which I do like, and also a place where I do expect to see some downside occur and possibly another lower high. Because long term, I'm pretty bearish with dollar yen. I'm looking for us to have this massive move down. Now I'm looking for a pullback of that for continuation. I think longer term, the market has got a lot of room to run to the downside. So I'm looking to try and find that next top. And the two places I would be expecting that top to form would either be at that next lower high in that descending channel, or we have a slightly deep retracement, more or less where we came back to retest it over here, back to 147 and test this low here as well. So those are the two areas roughly where I do expect the market to sell off from. Of course, I need to see some candlestick formations, rejections, bearish engulfing candle, I need to see signs that the market's holding onto those areas. And when I see that, that's where I can find some trades and some entries. I won't just take trades prices at those areas, but they do have some nice confidence with them, so I will be keeping a close eye. But my long-term bias is very bearish for dollar yen and a lot of the yen pairs as well, which we'll take a look at later in the video. But for now, dollar yen coming to some areas where shorts do look good, so keeping a close eye on 144.5 and 147 for some sales next week. Okay, so next up we got USD CAD. So USD CAD still bearish bias, still looking for a swing back to this low here at 1.344. If I expand to the daily chart, you can see we do have that massive level of support resistance. Price is still trading at, in fact, rejecting right now. So you can see it was acting as resistance really well over there, support a couple times over there, and now resistance again. So if the market can successfully reject this area, it's a pretty good chance we can probably end up back at this low and maybe further as well. We had such an impressive move down with all that momentum. I'm looking at this as being a correction of that for price to continue in that bearish path. So the fact that the market is rejecting it pretty well is a good sign. We've broken out of this consolidation here, and it does look like price is retesting the bottom of it. I will say it's looking pretty chaotic in that area, not very clean. It's not your textbook breaking retest. We're seeing a lot of exaggerated wicks, and this is of course because of the news that we've had recently, so the market's quite volatile. The breaking retest is not looking that clean, so if I was looking to trade USD CAD, I would be waiting for probably this low to break here, then looking for the retest of that low, because at that point I probably will be able to get a cleaner retest, because hopefully the market will be a bit quieter, because you can see the wicks up and down, big push up, coming off the back of the Fed interest rate. I think we had some CAD news there as well. So the market has been quite volatile, which is why we've got the wicks. So maybe waiting for the second breaking retest. There's always that kind of dilemma with the second breaking retest. It might not happen. Your price might just break the low and keep going, so you might not get the trade. But if it does happen, it could be a lot cleaner. Better stop loss, probably better risk reward, because you can have it a little bit tighter and maximize the risk reward back down to that low. But essentially, we're expecting the market to hold these areas and continue down. We don't really want to be seeing price breaking back above this, because that'll probably be a sign that the market is back in the range and maybe is actually going to sell off after all. So want to see price hold on to this level, 1.356, which we're doing a pretty good job of so far. So there could be some nice entries there. Or if you are going to wait for the breaking retest on the second area, which looks pretty good as well, you're looking at something like this for the trade. But the idea is that we're expecting USD CAD to continue lower. And as long as we hold on to that 1.36 level, that's my expectation with dollar CAD. So looking at more downside next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so next up we've got Euro Pound. So Euro Pound is back trading at a really strong low, and I do think the buys look good. It does look like price may be breaking through, and we'll find that out on Monday, Tuesday, to see if we sustain that and we sustain below that level. But what I'll be looking to see is if price can get a nice strong close and full hour back above. This could just be taking out some early stop losses, and then we could see the move. Price has had a really big drop to the downside, and now we're back at a big low. So I do think we can see a bit of a bounce. Of course, anything is possible. The market may still want to break lower and keep pushing, but I am looking to see if Euro Pound can close back above, maybe a strong bullish engulfing, give us some nice wicks to the downside as well. That could end up being a really nice entry and taking that back to where we came from, because if we look at Euro Pound in the higher time frames, you can see we are bearish, but we are coming back into a big low where we can look for a brief pause. I still believe the bigger move for Euro Pound is back to 0.83, back to support down here, but we could still see some upside before we do see that follow through. And if price does break out anyway, then we can always be looking at some breaking retests on this area and taking advantage of that move. Should we see price continue down and then give us a retest, that could be a nice short to look at maybe later in the week if that does arise. So even if you do continue lower, I do still see some shorts forming, but for now I'm still keeping an eye on the buys. I'm not quite sold that we are breaking out just yet. So the buys still look good, just need to see that confirmation come into play. If not, can definitely keep an eye on the sells there, because this is a really big level. So if it acts as resistance, could be a great place for a stop loss to be placed above and hopefully take advantage of that bearish momentum. But the focus really does remain at this level here at 0.838 for next week for Euro Pound. Okay, so over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar had a pretty bullish week this week, as we can see with that lovely bullish candle on the weekly chart. I still do expect to see higher prices back to 0.685. This is where I do see the market heading towards. And if you're looking for some sells, I would wait for us to at least get there before looking for those shorts. You can see last time we were here, big move to the downside from that level. So it would be great to see price get there again. Look at the price action. If things look good, there could be some nice shorts from there. If you're looking at buys, then I would wait for a pretty decent retracement, because we've already had such a move in the market. So I would like us to go for a bit of a breather, find the next high low. I'll be looking around the 0.672 area, which is this level of resistance. This is actually a level which I bought from a couple of weeks ago. Didn't go too well, but if the market was to come back there again, I would expect us to hold this time around, and then see if we can take it back to the high. So with Aussie dollar, because of the conditions were quite choppy, market's kind of in a big range, you're effectively looking to sell high and buy low. So if you're looking for shorts, you're looking at around 0.686 for some entries. And if you're looking for buys, you're looking for price to come back down near enough to the 0.671 area for your entries for buys, because you want to be selling high, selling high, buying low, because the way the market is moving, you don't really want to be looking to buy high and then take profit high, because we're seeing the market just reverse on itself time and time again. We're not really trending here for Aussie dollar. So sales around 0.686, 685 look really good. See what type of entries we can get up there. Likewise to the downside around 0.672. Just depends which area price gets to first. We can look for opportunities and then look to trade that range. But that will be the plan next week for Aussie dollar. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD had a big break through this daily resistance here, 0.84, 841, 84, as we can see here in the daily chart. And since we've broken through that, I'm looking for us to now come back into the wick high over here, because for me, this was such a significant level, and for a while, price was holding onto that level. So I was expecting us just to reject from this and see some downside, but price broke through, and now with that, I'll be shifting my bias to bullish, and at least expecting us to get back to that high now. So with NZD CAD, if we can find some pullbacks and retest in the meantime, there could be some really nice opportunities for some longs in the retest of this level, because it's now going to be acting as support, and that could be the catalyst to take us back to the high and maybe beyond that as well. So I do like the buys for NZD CAD, since we're trading above this key area of resistance. Solid break to the upside. Again, looking for a bit of a breather. You can see price is having a hard time sustaining the heights here, so it is struggling a little bit. It looks like we probably will see some downside anyway. So if price can push back down into 0.84, I think that's a really nice place for a buy. Of course, waiting for some signs of rejection, not just jumping straight in. But the idea is that, okay, we've broken through one level. Now market is probably going to get to the next level, which will be the swing high here around 0.851 or 85, you can call it on the dot pretty much. So 0.84 to 0.85 is kind of the plan. So if you can get a pullback, great. Retest 0.84, look for entries in that area. As long as we stay above, expecting buys, expecting upside back to 0.85 for next week. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So pound NZD is kind of trading in the middle of nowhere right now. It looks like price is kind of just breaking above this, but it doesn't look so concrete. So I'm looking at these areas here around 2.145 and 2.09 as areas where it does look good for some shorts and looks good for some buys respectively. So I'm waiting for us to push into one of those areas. Right now, we're kind of just consolidating really. And as we drop to the lower time frames, intraday time frames, it doesn't look any better. This looks like really chaotic price action. So what I'm looking for pound NZD is a push back to the high here around 2.145. This is the lower high that gave us this low. So this is our, our bearish swing here. As long as price can respect that, I'm naturally going to expect price to push back down. And if we decide to push down first, then I'll be looking at some buys to take it back up again. If I do zoom out back to the daily time frame, you can see that this level here at 2.09, if trading view were low, there we go. This level here at 2.09 is a really big level on the daily chart, resistance, and that could definitely act as support and send us back to the upside. So I like the buys and the sells equally. It just depends where the market gets to first. It looks like we probably will get to the high first. We're breaking above that level there. We have some really big wicks to the downside. Looks like we probably will push to the high first. So that's kind of where I'm looking for us to get to for pound NZD. And then judging how price looks, there could be some really nice shorts there. Of course, waiting for some signs of rejection, momentum shifting, and then we can find some sells. And if that all goes well, all goes to plan, there could be some really nice buys back around 2.09, using the day level to our advantage. Again, looking to take it back up again. Doesn't necessarily have to look for such a big swing. That we have the targets you can look at, around here, some midpoint. So that'll be up to you, but I'll be looking to try and play that range there with pound NZD. But yeah, that's my analysis on pound NZD for next week. Keep an eye on 2.14 and 2.09 for some sells and some buys for next week. Okay, so up next we've got CAD Yen. So CAD Yen, looking at some downside. Two levels I'm interested in for some shorts. The level we're trading at right now is one of them, 106,500, this area, and this area up here as well, around 109. There is a big level around 105, which price is just breaking above right now. So I think that will be a nice healthy target to have. Maybe even the lows down here as well, but I think 105 is definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm still pretty bearish with these yen pairs. We've had really big moves to the downside. I'm looking at price still continuing that path lower. We're just having maybe a bit more of a complex correction. So as you can see, we're coming into this area here, proving to be a really steady level of support on the 4 hour. Now back there, rejecting that quite nicely. I think if we can see a nice shift of momentum there, price kind of breaking out of this smaller consolidation, a nice close below, that looks like a nice entry there to me. Back into 105, and then maybe we can go a lot further as well. At least 105 could be a decent first target for a partial take profit or to start trading stops. Of course, that'll be up to you guys, but I do like this area here. Even better if we can break above 106,500 and push to the second area, because risk reward looks a lot better. Great place for a stop loss above the highs there as well. And if things play out, you're looking at a really nice risk reward, at least back down to 105. But again, I do think we can go a lot further than that as well. But for now, that's kind of the areas we're looking at. So yeah, I really like CAD Yen. Some other yen pairs probably interest me a little bit more because there's a bit more room to work with. We've got a big level here to worry about around 105, but nonetheless, still looks like a good opportunity there with CAD Yen. So areas of interest, 106.5, 109, keep an eye on that, looking for some shorts, and hopefully you can see some downside next week. Okay, so next up we've got pound USD. So pound USD was very bullish this week. Nice retest of this area here and a continuation this week. And we've taken out the highs there. So pound USD is now hitting some areas where I do think we're going to have a bigger retracement pretty soon. So I am looking for that to happen, but I'm not the one to try and call tops and highs and try and call reversals. I'm very much looking to flow with the trend. So I won't be looking at sells yet for pound USD, although I'm keeping in the back of my mind that we're approaching some areas where I do expect us to have not necessarily a reversal, but a bigger retracement on the higher time frames, particularly the weekly, the monthly charts. I do feel like we can probably have a bit of a dip before maybe a continuation, but for now everything's still bullish. And if you're looking at intraday opportunities, you probably want to still stick with the buys for now until we see some evidence that the market is about to reverse. Not really seeing any signs of that just yet. So on the 4 hour, I think this would be a nice opportunity for a break and retest, similar to Euro USD as well. If you see a nice correction, retest of this area, that to me looks like a nice place for a buy, trying to keep up with these higher lows here and see if you can be a part of that with another retest around 1.324, and then just take that back to highs. Nothing crazy. Probably can even have targets below that as well, depending on your entry and your risk reward you're after. But I wouldn't be looking for anything crazy here with pound USD because of where we're trading at. We're trading at some big highs, created some new highs this week as well. So although momentum is still bullish, trend is still bullish, buys still look good, keep in the back of our heads that we know that we're in an area where we might be seeing, again, not necessarily a reversal, but a bigger retracement on the higher time frames with pound USD. So I'll be wary of that. But intraday still looks good, taking advantage of that momentum. Keep an eye on the retest of 1.324, 325, and see if you can take that back to highs early next week. Okay, so up next we've got pound CAD. So pound CAD still looking pretty bullish. Another bullish week for this one. We're approaching a major level of resistance on the higher time frames. We already broke through one on the monthly chart not long ago, and now we're heading to the next one here around 1.81, 1.82. So I am still looking for a big move to the downside for pound CAD. We've been bullish for quite a while, so I do expect us to see a top pretty soon and the market to see some downside. So that's kind of something I'm looking at from a swing perspective. But again, similar to pound USD, which we just had a look at, the market's still bullish, momentum's still intact, so I still do expect to see continuations next week, especially on the intraday side. I think if you're intraday, you're still looking to take advantage of the buys. Trying to call the tops is always going to be a difficult move to do, especially when the market's been bullish for so long. So with pound CAD, I mean, first of all, we're not quite there yet at the 1.82 level. So I still do expect a bit more upside for us to get into this area. Then we can probably discuss some shorts later next week or the week after. But for now, from an intraday level, if the market decides it wants to pull back, I feel like this would be a great area for a retest. We didn't quite have the breaking retest of this level here, which was the setup I was talking about last week. So unfortunately, nothing there. But maybe this time the market will be a bit more lenient, give a nice little retest, opportunities intraday, maybe some entries in the hourly, and see if you can trade it back to the high, maybe slightly beyond that as well. 1.81, 1.82 is where I do expect us to get to before we do see that reversal. So in my book, pound CAD still pretty bullish. If you're looking intraday, stick with the buys. Momentum is still good there. The sells are coming, but they're not quite here yet. So that's the plan going to next week for pound CAD. Okay, so next up we've got pound yen. So pound yen, again, hitting some levels where I'm interested in selling. Another yen pair, I do expect to see longer term downside. So as we approach these heights around 1.92, 1.93, I'm looking for some shorts. So the first area I'm looking at is the level that we're trading at here on the 4 hour. It was really sturdy resistance in the past. Looking to see what we can do there again at around 1.92. If that doesn't hold, I'll be looking at 1.93, which is right back at the high. For me, as long as price doesn't do anything crazy above this in terms of a big breakout, I'm looking for sells. Even if price breaks above it slightly, we could just do a couple of fake outs. That could be very much the play. And then price holds the level and we see some downside. So I'm well aware of that. I just don't want to see price having big moves above this. If that's the case, then maybe we are breaking structure. Maybe the yen pairs are wanting to go bullish longer term. But for now, I'm still very bearish on pound yen. So as we approach 192, seeing some nice wicks. The key thing I'm looking at is for momentum now, because you're already seeing some signs that the market's slowing down. Now I want to see some momentum from the bearish side of things. Now I can look for my entries, stops above the high, and again, looking at really big trades here. So if these trades play out to how I see them playing out on my head, these could be some really big moves here to capitalize on. And if it goes a little bit higher, potentially even bigger, but even better risk to reward, I'll be looking for us to come back into the lows around 180. So yeah, things go really well and stop loss works well and I don't get trailed out like I did on Euro, could be capitalizing on some really big moves. As a swing trader, these are the type of moves you're after. Again, you won't be right all the time, but it's the times that you do right that do really count. So I'm really interested in these yen pairs, especially pound yen. Really good opportunity to the downside should it happen. Just need to wait for some entries and wait for some signals to actually get into the trade and get those confirmations. But 192 and 193 are the areas I'll be looking at. Targets at least for next week down on 184, and then we can work our way from there. But that will be the plan next week for pound yen. Okay, so now moving on to gold. So gold, another very bullish week for gold. Big move to the upside after the initial breakout 25.30. I said retest of this level looked good. Didn't happen this week, unfortunately. Now we've broken through another high here at 25.86. Prices had a tough time breaking through that. Now we've recently seen a nice breakout. Now that has become a nice place for a buy as well. So gold is just showing so much signs of strength, a lot of bullish momentum across the board, higher time frames, right down to the lower time frame. So for me, I would only be interested in the buys. Sure, there'll be some short-term sells and take advantage of retracement. I can understand that, but you want to be careful and you don't want to be staying in those trades too long, because where the meat of the moves are is with the buys here. So if you can find some pullbacks, great. Breaking retest looks good. Even this level still looks good there. I'm just not too sure we get back down there, at least in the near future. I think the next best opportunity, the next realistic opportunity would be the retest of the high here at 25.90. I've marked out a psychological level at 26.50 since we've just broken through 2600. I've marked out 2700, but I think 2650 is probably where our attention should be at for now, and then we can probably target 2700 as the next one. But yeah, very bullish stuff for gold. Looking at the breaking retest, keeping it simple, and just see if we can catch that next high or low. But that'll be the plan next week for gold. Okay, so next up we got Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been pretty bullish, but we're still remaining inside this descending channel. So I'm not going to get too excited about price until we start breaking out of this. aka something like this, breaking out of that, then yeah, maybe we are on our next bull run. But this upside here doesn't fill me with too much confidence. As you can see, last time we did something like that, market from the top in a similar area, and then we sold off to the downside. So with Bitcoin, if you're looking for opportunities, this is the areas I've been speaking about, which I think still look good. If price can get back there, that's kind of where you're looking for your opportunities. I wouldn't mind looking at some sales at the high here, since it did act really well and we could be forming a nice double top before a sell. So I wouldn't mind some opportunities on the high there, stops above. And then if that fails, you're looking at another retry as you approach the high there again. But essentially, we're looking at the market remaining in this range here until it breaks out. So if we come back to the high, you're looking for price to respect that. Let me just extend this a little bit further. If we come back to the trend line area, you're looking for price to respect that. If we do get the breakout, then of course we can discuss some break and retest and some buys above that. But for now, price is still in the range, still expecting to remain in the range until something significant happens. And then you're looking for another swing back to the low around 52, 53K. And maybe we will get the breakout lower as well. But for now, this is the opportunity that looks good to me for Bitcoin next week. Okay, so last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which for this week is Swiss yen. So Swiss yen, I'm looking at a lot downside, another yen pair. Of course, I'm still very bearish on all of these yen pairs. Swiss yen looks really good to me as well, but a nice head and shoulder pattern come into play not long ago. If I highlight it, so the left shoulder over there, you got the head over there, and of course you had the right shoulder there as well. So as long as price doesn't go and break past this swing point here, this high, I'm looking at a lower high in the market rolling to the downside. So I've got a couple of areas where I'm looking at. Number one, where we're trading right now, price came into a really nice low. This is what gave us our last kind of big push to the upside. Now we've broken through that. Now it looks like price is retesting that. If I whip out the Fibonacci from the high to the low, I think we've come into the 0.618 now. Yes, we have just about. So if I can see price give me a bit more rejection there, because I'm not seeing much right now. If I can see a nice bearish engulfing, some more wicks, that will look like a really nice entry for me. Stops above the high, targeting that low. I think we can go a lot further, but I think we should keep it for that low for this week. If we do push a little bit higher, I do have a second area around 171.5, which looks equally as good should we get there. And in fact, the risk reward looks better, so it's slightly a better opportunity from that perspective. If it plays out, we make more. Back at that high there as well. Like I said, as long as we don't break through this high, still looking for us to sell off. Back to that low, probably target some of these lows here as well if you trying to leave some positions to run. But Swiss yen for me is a bearish market, and as long as we maintain that lower high there at 172.5, 173, the sales are still very much at play. So we're testing a level right now, waiting for a bit more development before I look for entries, but looking good so far. If it doesn't hold, we push a little bit higher. We'll be looking at 171.5 for some entries there. And again, similar targets back at the low, and then hopefully we can take it further. But that will be the plan next week for Swiss yen. And that, guys, does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please be sure to smash the like button. It really does help out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Comment down below any pairs you're looking at. I'm eager to find out. And of course, make sure you do hit the bell so you don't miss on any streams or uploads in the future. Guys, appreciate you watching. Have a great Saturday, great Sunday, and I'll catch you all in the new week.